Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel, and I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I want to just say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people to thank who have inspired me, and I will include links to their sites below this video so you can check them out as well. They're Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Alon Anaba, Rav Daniel Asor, Nisim Baruch Black, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, I think I mentioned already. If not, I'm mentioning it again, or first time. And let's see, David Sachs and Rabbi Michael Skobac, Jews for Judaism. Again, if you've never checked out this channel before, please do watch my first video where I explain what M.L.M for the soul actually means. And again, we are referring to this wonderful Sefer, Lilmod and Lilmod, and we just had a double portion, Vayakhel and Pekudei. So we're going to be doing a double video. So if it's, hopefully it won't run too long. So I'm calling this, from Vayakhel, I'm titling this View Life in Its Totality, and from Pekudei, the second half is called Judge People Favorably. So in Parashat Vayakhel, it's interesting that Hashem talks about they're building the Mishkan, but he also says about Shabbos, about keeping Shabbos. And the reason he says this is because people might think, the people of Bnei Israel might think that, oh, because we're building this wonderful structure for the presence of Hashem, that it can override Shabbos, but Hashem says no, nothing can override Shabbos. So Shabbos is the mainstay of Judaism. So, but yet in the history, people have thought that the laws of Shabbos are restrictive and irrelevant, and you know, why can't we just go rest but do things like watch TV or things like that, or carry something outside? And some people might say, why do we need Shabbos to begin with? What's the big deal? So the basis for this is in the Torah in Bereshis 2:2. It says, "And he Hashem rested on the seventh day from all his works which he had made." When we say this, like Hashem rests, Hashem is omnipotent. He's all powerful. Hashem never gets tired. Hashem never sleeps. You know, Hashem never rests. So what does this all mean? We're not talking about the physical sense of rest. We're talking that the Torah means that Hashem paused from the basic work of creation on the seventh day, for the world had already been completed. So the seventh day was one which Hashem set aside for admiring his creations and to consider the earth as a totality. This way Hashem set the standard for humans to sanctify the Shabbos and to turn away from their everyday mundane earthly concerns, to view life in its totality. So that's why, hence the name for this video. So what's life for, and how can we elevate ourselves spiritually? So that's why the reason that any type of work that was performed in the Mishkan was prohibited or banned on Shabbos. Those are the 39 malachos, the 39 work restrictions. Also, people don't realize it's also your thoughts, your speech, and your deeds that are related to any weekday nature. Like some people still, unfortunately, go ahead, and thoughts are the hardest part, I think, for me. But they go ahead and talk about business, and talk about this, and talk about sports, and talk about, you know, just nonsense. I'm sorry to say, but it's the truth. It is nonsense. Anyway, even during the weekday. The only thing Shabbos is meant to be talked about in Yom Tov is Torah, is about the Parasha, about Hashem, about, you know, how to make the world a better place for Hashem that we live in, like make it a holier place. So it says here, the Shabbos is the day where we acknowledge Hashem's creation of and mastery over the world. So therefore we should devote the day to prayer and family togetherness rather than humdrum matters. We have 6 days to deal with all that business and work and school and all the other affairs. So we're setting aside one day, which is Hashem's day. It's the holiest day of the week. And that should basically encompass our whole actions, thoughts, deeds, everything. People forget. They slip up and start discussing other things. And they forget. So you have to remember, this is not a day to talk about everything else. It's like, that's complete, that's done. Now we talk about what matters. And those who do observe Shabbos the way they're supposed to, they show the world that they accept Hashem's authority. They accept the fact that He created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day He, quote unquote, rested. So we're acknowledging that that's how we live. And a very cute little story here. It says, Shabbos is like a sign on the shoemaker's shop. As long as the sign remains over the door, people know he's still in business. But if the sign wasn't there, they know he's no longer in business. Similarly, those who observe the Shabbos is an indication to others that the Jew is still in business, quote unquote, as fearing Hashem. And that's a very important thing. And one who no longer keeps Shabbos, he shows that he is chas v'shalom, rachmana litzlan, heaven forbid, that he is retired from his belief in Hashem. And that's very sad. And then there are those who believe that they can't survive financially if they refrain from working, which is also not true. And that's something we have to remember, that Hashem provides for us. We have to have faith in the power of Hashem and trust His ability. He takes care of everything. By us keeping Shabbos, we're showing that we trust Hashem, that He's going to provide for us, and we won't suffer any loss by doing this. So we have to remember that. So now I want to continue to Pekudei, so this doesn't run too long. So the Pekudei title, part of this is called Judge People Favorably. And what does this relate to? Well, first, just a little background. So Parashat Pekudei talks about the whole accounting of everything that it costs to make the Mishkan. And, and why was this necessary? Why did Moshe have to give this accounting? Because there are always those people who might suspect that Moshe kept some of his contributions for their own use. Because don't forget, there was actually an excess. In the end, there was like too much. They didn't need it. It was like the Bnei Yisrael were so willing to give and to give and to give that they ended up having much more than they needed. So Moshe did this because he wanted to show that everything was attributed to the building of the sanctuary, of the Mishkan. And an interesting story that relates to this, how you can understand, is I talked about the Rabbi Yunim of Parashischo, that two witnesses saw him, supposedly, they saw him, that he ate cake and coffee on Yom Kippur after Kol Nidre, which seems crazy, how could that have been this case? So, but the story that was false. What they saw was not actually him eating the cake. What happened was that his daughter-in-law gave birth before Yom Kippur, and the person who gives birth has to eat. They have to nourish their baby. So she insisted that she would not eat because it's Yom Kippur. She would only eat if her father-in-law personally gave her the food. So what the people saw through the window is they saw him holding the food, the food and the drink. He wasn't actually eating it. So they mistakenly assumed he was going to eat the food himself, but they didn't actually see him eating it. They saw him holding it. So again, that's why I said, judge people favorably. You don't know what you're seeing, so don't judge the person yet. Another story too was about the tzaddik Rav Aryeh Levine, who was attended the funeral of another rabbi, Rabbi Eliezer Revlin of Yerushalayim, and he saw a friend of his, another rabbi, Rav Shmuel Kook, and when this procession for the funeral, the Levi was going on, he saw that the Rabbi Kook went into a flower shop to purchase a flower pot, and he thought that was disrespectful, and he told him, how could you do this, and is this the right time to buy a flower pot? I don't understand what you're doing. So he explained that what happened was there was someone in the hospital who had come down with a contagious disease, and the day before that person died, and the doctors weren't Jewish, and they wanted to burn all his possessions because of the contagiousness of the disease. So this rabbi, Rabbi Shmuel, pleaded with them not to burn the tefillin, as they were very holy, and to bury them. So they agreed, and they said if you can get an earthenware pot, they would permit the tefillin to be buried. So, and he only gave them a limited amount of time to do this, so that's why he had to leave the funeral in order to meet the deadline that the doctors gave him. So in this case, this rabbi, this tzaddik, Rabbi Levin, said, at that moment I made a resolution to always judge people favorably. So that's hence the title. And this is from the book Ish Tzaddik Haya, page 102. So there you go. It's like another situation where he didn't understand the situation. He already kind of threw on him that he's doing something bad. So this can be contrasted with what happened with the Egel HaZahav, where the Jews were so interested to donate for a golden calf, but no one suspected, where all this came from. They were so enthusiastic. But here's the interesting contrast: when money is used for a noble and holy cause, they wanted to make absolutely sure they did not donate an unnecessary cent. Isn't it interesting? Like for something, a havdil, for an idol, they just kept pouring on, and then so what is this about, the suspicious attitude? It says here's an interesting thing. Most people are very indulgent to get themselves the nicest new car and jewelry and cruises, but what about tzedakah? When it comes to tzedakah, the Yetzer Hara comes and shows his glorious self and wants you to pinch pennies. He like it's like it hurts you to do it. So you have to overcome that. Baruch Hashem, I don't have a problem with that. I go, with my maser. I mentioned Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi. I donate to his cause because he does kiruv, and that's the highest level to get the most out of the money you donate for endless rewards. And Shemayim, you have, that's why M.L.M for the soul, it has a lot to do with that. You're giving for your endless reward, not for your physical reward, for your spiritual reward. So please, if you can, donate to him. Go to divineinformation.com and donate your master money. This is what I do. And sometimes it's like I figure out how much I'm going to give, and then I decide to give some more, if I can. Baruch Hashem, Hashem always provides, and He always will provide for everyone. So the more we give, the more we get back. So what it's saying here about tzedakah, we're so conscious about watching over everything, but really we should think about our priorities. Our priorities really are to do what we can for our soul now in this world, because once we leave this world, we will not be able to do anything else. We will be hopefully not all disappointed that we didn't do more, because that's what happened. The stories are that when most people leave this world, people who have had experienced clinical death and have come back, they sense that they're shamed, embarrassed, they did nothing. So do as much as you can here, and do as much as you can for others and for Hashem, especially, because that's what we're here for. We're here to serve Hashem, and we're here to do avodas Hashem, and we're here to elevate everything we do. So keep that in the front of your mind, not in the back of your mind, that everything you do is to serve Hashem, to be stronger to serve Hashem, to be healthier to serve Hashem. And I hope that we can all keep that in mind and keep saying that as whatever you're doing that to serve Hashem, because that's what's most important. And as I said in the title, here, how we live in totality and judging people favorably, and also coming together as a nation, because we're in a critical time in this world, and it could be that day will come, and the day is coming for Mashiach, and I hope that we all merit to live and to see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days, and the rebuilding of our final everlasting Beis HaMikdash. Amen, and thank you for watching.